Good morning, my name is Carly and welcome back to Farmer Analytics. Today we're out in our high tunnel. We're up here in northern Vermont, which is zone 4B, and we are going to be doing some pruning of our tomatoes as well as some trellising. We are actually having a heat wave here the next 2 days, so I'm out here nice and early before the heat hits. It's already hot, but it's supposed to get up to 95 today and feel like 105, which is absolutely nuts for us up here in northern New England. So we are going to get a little bit of work done out here before it gets too hot. So when pruning tomatoes, the first thing we want to pay attention to is what is touching the ground. So right here is actually a great example of a leaf that is hanging a little bit too low, and then you can actually see it's starting to not do well. Anything that's touching the ground really introduces any opportunity for disease. So we want to remove these that are touching the ground and susceptible to disease. And that's going to help everything stay healthy. So we're going to go through today, we're going to remove all the lower foliage, anything that's hanging too low. And then you can see also that we've tied our first set of trellis clips at the very base of each plant already. And this follows a string all the way up to the top of the trellis here. And we have all those clipped up to a line at the top. And then they come all the way down to the plant. So we basically could follow this string all the way up with clips. So we are definitely due for another set of clips on all of these guys. You can see, for example, this one is starting to bend this way. So we want to just make sure everybody stays straight up, like this one. This is a good example. Like this one, you can see our trellis string is right here, and our plant is growing to the left. So we're going to come through and straighten everybody up here and defoliage these quite a bit. This one here, this is a tomatillo, but this is a good example of one that definitely needs some help and needs to be trellised up. And another one. So it is time to come through with our second row of clips and to cut these guys back a bit. Tomatoes are really amazing in the amount of growth that they can produce. We just want to be able to kind of control that growth and push it more towards the fruit rather than the foliage or the leaves that it's producing. And in past years, we have slacked on the pruning of our tomatoes just because of life and seasons that were harder to get things done on time. And when that happens, we have two problems. The first problem is that the tomatoes quickly become an actual jungle. If you let all this foliage go, these tomatoes will just absolutely take over the space that you've given them and more. In the past, we have actually done 2 rows of tomatoes straight up this row. And this is the first year that we decided that it would be a really good idea to just do 1 row and give these guys the space they need. Because what happened in the past is it becomes almost impossible to prune and weed and make sure everybody has enough space to breathe. And we had massive issues with fungal disease. This greenhouse stays pretty humid, so fungal disease is something we want to keep a heavy eye on, especially in New England. We have really wet summers here in Vermont. So that is something we are well aware of because it quickly takes over a plant and makes it so that it's not very productive. So not only do we want to take care of the space we're giving them to grow and keep up on our pruning, but the pruning is also good for keeping disease back. So any disease that you might notice crop up, we cut that right off. And then also by keeping them well pruned and keeping that foliage back, we are eliminating the possibility for more disease to occur in the fact that we're giving them more airflow, more space to breathe. and less opportunity for everything to overtake these guys, specifically fungal disease, which we've struggled with in the past. So staying on top of these, especially right now, is super important. That way, in another couple weeks, the pruning won't be so bad, and it's just more of a maintenance thing rather than a big event where you're basically getting yourself through a jungle of tomatoes. So we'll start on this one together, and like I said, we're going to cut this one down here. I'm not really all that concerned about cutting off suckers at this point. I do make sure that I'm following the same center stalk. That's really helpful, but I don't want to eliminate all the foliage. That's really where the plant is getting, pulling in that sunlight and getting all its energy to make fruit. So we want to leave most of these guys alone. We don't want to put this plant into shock, but like this was a pretty yucky leaf. And also you can see some eggs on the back of here. These work in the fact that you kind of slip that piece through, and then you have your tomato plant that goes through here, and then we just snap it closed. So we're going to do that down here. We are basically, I find the bottom of kind of where the stalk separates, and I go right for underneath there, and now I really believe that there's no perfect way to prune tomatoes. Everybody does it differently. This is just going to be something that you have to feel out and get used to and figure out as you go. Now this one's going to look a little severe with what I'm going to do right now, but I actually don't want these two stalks where they split, because what's going to happen is this is going to take off pretty heavy, just the same as this one, and I only have one center line, so I really want to just focus on creating one single stalk all the way up. So it pains me to do it, but we're going to take that piece off completely. And we're going to let this stalk really thrive here. It's going to go straight up for us. I am going to leave this front foliage here because it needs some foliage on it to, do its thing with photosynthesis. But yeah, we're going to leave this one. I picked this one. It's got a little bit nicer flowers on it, so it seems a little bit more promising to me. So we'll see how that does. So the one thing that I've learned throughout my entire gardening experience and gardening on a larger scale here and having, 50 plus tomato plants in one row is that it's okay to experiment. I used to be so nervous to do anything wrong, to prune wrong, to plant wrong, and to have something fail. But in the end, it's just all a learning experience. And I may have picked the wrong shoot. We'll never know, but we move forward from it and we see what happens. And if anything, you learn from it. And that's the one thing that I have learned from gardening and has really helped me, because I am such a type A perfectionist, if we're being honest, that doing what I love and enjoying it is more important than being perfect. Over the years, one of my favorite varieties to grow is actually called Valencia. That is more of a yellow tomato, and it is just absolutely delicious. My favorite tomato in a BLT, Valencia. And another favorite that does really well here in our grow zone is Mountain Princess. And I find that Mountain Princess comes up really early for us. It's one of our first tomatoes to be ready. And that's something I love because I just anxiously wait for tomatoes every year. All these flowers, it just make me so excited for tomato season and snacking. And our kids absolutely love just going through the greenhouse and snacking on tomatoes. I think that's one of my favorite parts about growing food in general, is watching them go through and just eat their way through an afternoon. The other part to that is knowing that the food that we're growing is chemical free, it's organic, and I feel safe about my kids snacking on it all day and knowing where it comes from and teaching them really what growing your own food looks like and what that tastes like and where your food comes from and how it grows. That's about it for pruning today. We have really opened up those bottoms of everybody, got them up off the ground, thinned them out a little bit between each other, and that's going to help tremendously moving forward. Let me know in the comments below if you grow tomatoes and what your favorite variety is. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time.